everyone. Welcome back to my author commentary for A Prince of Song and Shade. Today we're up to chapter 38, and while it's not like a chapter on an epic scale, it is one of the favourite chapters that I've written in this book, potentially even in this series. Not for any, spectacular reason. It was just a lot of fun to write. So let's chat about this one. This is the scene where Zamaril creeps into Cuinn's room in the middle of the night to wake him up and let him know about his harebrained scheme. But before that, we kind of get Cuinn trying and failing to sleep. The scenes in Arater so far have focused very much on Talyn and the wolves and how they're coping with slavery, and Talyn trying to manage her own feelings about that, as well as trying to manage the wolves and keep them under control, which is a slowly kind of failing affair. But we get a bit more of Cuinn's perspective in this chapter, which is an even more complicated one, really. As an incredibly powerful song mage, he is managing his own distaste and horror at the idea of slavery. He hates it as much as Talyn does, if not more, because he can actually feel what those around him are feeling. He can feel the wolves growing impatience, intolerance for it, and he can feel that Talyn's control over them is wavering. And he, in fact, without Talyn ever knowing, or without the wolves ever knowing, is spending a lot of his magic trying to keep them calm when they're in the room with him. And that's an exhausting effort and kind of a thankless task, but he realizes how important that is, and is expending a lot of his own kind of energy and magic on trying to manage them for her. And then he's also got the fact that as a song mage, he can pick up all the contempt and kind of distaste that the Montagn nobles have for him and his retinue, which is a really kind of complicated thing, because the way he has to behave with his kind of indolent prince, lazy prince persona is one that keeps him safe from Montagn, from people finding out that he's a Shadowhawk. But it's also what's feeding into the Montagn view of him. And so he has to sit around, behave in a way he doesn't believe in, and basically receive a lot of contempt and dislike and distaste for that. As polite a veneer as the Montagn might put on, he can obviously understand everything that's going on behind that mask or behind that politeness. So he's having a great time in Arater, and this kind of speaks to how reluctant he was to go in the first place, and how much he actually kind of sacrificed to get Talyn back in the wing, in terms of making that deal with Azralan, that he was willing to kind of do this. Just the mental toll that it takes on him and the emotional toll that it takes. He felt that was worth it. I mean, Cuinn is a very... Talyn and the wolves see him as basically useless, annoying at the best of times. He does a lot for them that they never really understand or realize. And it's just interesting that goes so much under the surface. Then we have the conversation with Zamaril, which was just a lot of fun for me to write. You might not have found it as entertaining as I do for whatever reason, but the interaction between the two of them with kind of Cuinn standing there going, I love this plan, like right from the second, because it's going to help Halun. I can see, like, it's exactly the same reasoning behind the sacrifice he made to bring Talyn back into the wolves. He'll do anything for his wolves. But he knows very well he can't capitulate too quickly, so he has to make Zamaril work for it. And it's kind of for me, it was a very kind of entertaining, bantery kind of conversation there. My favourite line is when kind of Cuinn laughs and stares at him and is like, your best plan is to have Captain Dynan fix this, which like speaks to both Cuinn and Zamaril's faith in her sheer competence and capability. Zamaril just figures he just needs to get Navani out, and once he does that, Talyn will manage it. And Cuinn deep down believes the same way. The question, interestingly, is Zamaril clearly adores Halun. He clearly would do anything for him. He would do anything for his brothers in the wolves. But going to Cuinn with this task, with this ask, is an incredible risk. And I honestly don't think Zamaril would have risked it unless he'd already started to suspect something about Cuinn wasn't real. I don't think he would have risked... I mean, because if Zamaril truly believed that Cuinn is nothing but the lazy, spoiled third Condor prince, it would be way too risky to come to him with this plan. There's no way Cuinn would ever agree to it. So part of Zamaril, I think, already suspects the truth about Cuinn. Probably not to the degree that he knows exactly what's going on, but I think Zamaril's instincts, his street instincts, his people instincts tell him that there's something about Cuinn that he can make this ask of him, essentially. And then by the end of the conversation, poor Cuinn, who's utterly exhausted. He's been using his song magic endlessly since they arrived. He's dealing with everything around him. And Zamaril's just a very irritating person at times, the way he kind of goes at you. And he kind of spills at the end of their conversation that he was the one that was behind Talyn being returned to the wolves because and the agreement was that he had to remain in Arate, which is why he can't cut out early. And again, that's Zamaril. Like I said, Zamaril already has a seeking suspicion and instinct about Cuinn that there's something else going on there, and this will kind of start to solidify that for Zamaril as we see in future chapters. He picks up on the truth about Cuinn possibly even a little bit sooner than Talyn, although it's probably more of a subconscious suspicion than anything else. But this is certainly a big slip of Cuinn, and he's starting to make more of these. Part of it is exhaustion, and part of it he's just so desperate for people to know him and to know who he is and to have an authentic relationship with his wolves, with Talyn, with those around him. So yeah, this was a fun chapter. I like scenes with Zamaril and other characters because Zamaril kind of tends to bring out that kind of bantery worst of people, and it's fun dialogue to write. But if you have any questions or comments on this scene, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, let me know in the comments below. As always, I'd love to chat about it. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to chapter 39 because that was another really fun one to write. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.